All right, everyone. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are. I'm Sharon Schwarzmiller. I'm the head of marketing here at ACUE, and I'm excited to be the host and moderator for today's event. Now, before we get started, I just want to call your attention to a few housekeeping items. And most importantly, we want you to join in our conversation. So we'll be taking questions throughout the webinar. As you think of them, put them in the chat or in the Q&A, and we will try to get to them, as many of them as possible, at the end of our conversation. And if you're interested in learning more about ACUE's work, I invite you to visit ACUE's website. It's my pleasure on behalf of ACUE to moderate this conversation with leaders who will engage in a dialogue around faculty development and student retention. And I'm noticing we're showing a Zoom screen. I'm not sure if that's intentional. We want to go back to our slides here. There we go. Great. All right. So we'll try to get our slides up for you all, but we are going to be talking about faculty development and how it supports our successful student retention strategies. So for the next 45 minutes or so, this stellar panel, which I'm going to have introduce themselves in a moment, will be exploring the relationship between faculty development and student retention. Now, each of us can think of anecdotal stories, right, from students who identify at least one faculty member who was instrumental in their academic progress and ultimately in the successful completion of their program of study. So as higher education practitioners, we are all well aware of the inextricable link between faculty presentation of content and student engagement. So now I would like to introduce and welcome our guests for this conversation. So to get us started, I'm going to go around the horn and we'll take our slides down, and I'll ask you each to provide just a brief introduction and then have you tell us each just a little bit about yourselves. And once you do that, maybe you could give us a little personal reflection on the relationship between faculty development and student retention. And before I jump in and kind of cue each of you, I just wanted to let the group know that we are still hoping that Dr. Floyd is going to be able to join us here today. And as she joins in, we will pull her into our conversation. But for the time being, we'll get started. Okay, so Dr. Ortiz, I'm going to start with you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Laura Ortiz, and I am the Dean for Faculty Development and Engagement at Waubonsee Community College in Sugar Grove, Illinois. And faculty development as it relates to holistic faculty and student success is one of my favorite topics. So I'm thrilled to be with you today. So most importantly, I would suggest that since teaching is truly at the heart of student success, that faculty development needs to be #1 institutional priority. And I know that part of our conversation also is around mitigating faculty burnout. And I think that through quality faculty development, we're able to take care of our faculty and nourish them so that they're in turn able to support our students. So just a brief reflection.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Ortiz. I appreciate that. And Dr. Urtz, we're going to jump over to you. And then Dr. Floyd, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you made it on. We're here and we're ready. So we'll be coming over to you for a brief introduction in a moment. So over to you, Dr. Urtz.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anastasia Urtz. I'm Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic and Student Affairs at Onondaga Community College, named for the Onondaga Nation, part of the Haudenosaunee. We are part of the State University of New York system. And what I would add, is I can't say it better than Dr. Ortiz said it, how critical faculty well-being and faculty teaching is to the well-being of students. I would say that part of our thinking around the commitment we've made to faculty professional development is really rooted in student equity and working to expand skill sets as we think about the increasing challenges our learners have experienced. So our institution serves a very economically challenged population in the city of Syracuse, and that those individuals were incredibly hard hit by the COVID pandemic. So certainly a focus on equity and closing gaps in achievement for different populations of students is critical. And then back to that faculty wellness issue, the methodology of learning that builds a community of practice among our faculty as scholars and learners themselves has been immensely powerful. And that was an important facet for us. And it's intrinsic to what we do on campus in terms of trying to get faculty voice into the development of their practice and try to create as many spaces as possible for faculty members to impact the institution as a whole. So that's my reflection.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you. And Dr. Floyd, thank you so much. We're so glad you were able to make it. Don't you love technology? That is, I know.
I do. Whenever I come in, it's different. I feel like they changed something in my office. But good afternoon, everyone. I'm super excited to be here with my colleagues and to hear from both of them. My name is Shonda Floyd, as you know, and I'm the provost for Dallas College. We are a huge urban district. We service approximately 100,000 plus students. So we have quite a few students, and my real draw to ACUE was really trying to be prepared post-pandemic or in the midst of pandemic of what our world would look like in terms of instruction, not just for our students, but for one another. I really credit the pandemic with making us all a little bit uncomfortable with environments that we had been in forever, but we were really all grappling with what would our today, what would our tomorrow look like? And I think that caused even our most seasoned faculty members to have concerns and issues about work that they had done day in and day out, but they were really, kind of exhibiting a lot of uncertainty, as we all were, given the times. And so ACUE was really a backbone, a support that we became very grateful for in helping us to navigate our new path ahead and just really stay the course. And I'm really crediting them with giving my faculty a lot of sense of assurance for those who are well seasoned in what they did, that yes, I am still on the right track and I can still do this. And for those who were newer and we were onboarding, even as those that were making decisions to kind of transition out of work in the field, given everything that was going on at the time, we were able to provide support for them too as new instructors. So ACUE has really been fabulous in that way. And I'm excited to hear more from everyone about that today.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Floyd. I appreciate that. And actually, I love the perfect transition here that you're allowing me to segue into to ask. And you kind of answered this question. So I'm going to move this question over to Dr. Ortiz and say, would you be willing to share with our group here today how and why you chose to engage with ACUE and what you saw as faculty were starting to return to campus as the pandemic restrictions were lifted a little bit?
I would be happy to. So we actually, very luckily, my office was created the summer of 2018. And so we had the opportunity to explore and look for the best resources to support our faculty. And our mission is to support faculty regardless of where they are in their teaching career, and also regardless of delivery mode. So it was very timely. But the way that we actually found ACUE is we were looking for a provider to support the institution because we didn't have the resources to be able to develop and facilitate a high quality evidence-based teaching and learning program. And so we found two, we brought them to our team, we brought them to our faculty excellence team, we brought them to our consortium here in Northern Illinois, and overwhelmingly, ACUE was selected to support us, and that partnership has been exceptionally meaningful. And I think in terms of the pandemic, what it enabled us to do, firstly, we had cohorts already in action. So they were able to immediately apply and implement the different practices now in the online environment. So that was a huge plus, since we had many faculty that had not taught online or were not formally trained in teaching online. And then the other thing, which I think Shonda mentioned, is that it, and Anastasia did too, that it became a professional faculty community of practice, so that that they had that support system during that exceptionally difficult time. And so bringing that forward, I think, was a huge support. And then just a final note, one of the things that we did is that we intentionally mixed our cohorts with full-time faculty and adjunct faculty. So we had 15 seats for full-time and 15 seats for adjunct. So it was just another way to develop that sense of community of our full faculty, and really just celebrating teaching and learning together.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you. And actually, you had mentioned Dr. Urtz, so I'm going to move over to you, Dr. Urtz, and have you kind of comment on that question as well.
So for us, the origin story is largely similar. We were actually in remote status for only 10 weeks during the pandemic. Our faculty came back, and we were, despite being a community college, we were running hybrid and high flex and all kinds of different formats to try to keep the learning going. As I mentioned, the population we serve really relies on us for connectivity, for food distribution. We run an entire human support network, if you will, in our student affairs areas. And so for us, it was important to get that, get connected to all the kind of learning outcomes that we've heard about and help faculty navigate the terrain. It was also important, though, because in that high flex world, we were still trying to deliver highly hands-on education. We deliver a number of technical programs at our institution, and many of the faculty in that space we discovered had not been formally trained in teaching and were, professionals in their own right, but there was so much rich material. And speaking similarly, we had very diverse groups that went through the programming together and facilitated by one of our full-time faculty. So everything here we do is very faculty driven, and and she treated it just like it was a regular course with regular students in a classroom. And so it was really powerful in that sense, where they were learning from one another.
Excellent, excellent. And I know, Dr. Floyd, I know you started speaking a little bit to this. Is there anything more that you'd want to add to this? Okay, yeah, you got it. Good. Well, that's fine, because we'll move right on to the next question, which I think is critical in all of this. I'd love to know, and I'm sure that our group here would also be interested in how you found the funding for and how you were able to invest in this work. So I'll actually go right back over to you, Dr. Urtz, on that, if you wouldn't mind commenting.
Sure, absolutely. So we saw this as fundamental to initially the work the funding we received from the federal government associated with COVID. So all of those funds were available for health and wellness and for learning support and for a variety of different factors. And so initially that's where we began, was with funding in that space. We committed to ourselves, we'd try it once and see how it went. And then it went so well, we tried it again and included our adjunct faculty, as we've heard about. And now that we're beyond the time, right? We're all emerging beyond the time that support remains available. But what we've found is there's some signatures. Our institutional faculty have been doing enormous work to really reinvigorate and repoint our curriculum in light of the impacts on the local economy from the pandemic. A lot of things changed. And it's put major signatures in our practice around healthcare, around engineering technology, and similar disciplines alongside our traditional liberal arts transfer path. So we have a number of grants. We've been very successful in securing external funding. So we have projects that are continuing with ACUE that are in the healthcare space, connecting those faculty. We have a major federal project that is actually connecting multiple community colleges, each to the other in the healthcare space, and thinking together about all of the pathways between and among non-credit and credit programs. In the technology space, many of us have Perkins funding. That's some of the space we're using. So we're fairly creative about the funds we have available. And as community college leaders, we often have access to those kinds of funds that really make it possible to connect people and programming in meaningful ways.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I'll transition, ask that same question of you, Dr. Floyd.
Yes, it was very similar. We began with using HER funds for this as we were coming through the pandemic, and we used it as really upskilling our faculty for online engagement with students when that hadn't been historically the methodology or sort of the modality that every single faculty member was accustomed to. But the more we got into it and saw the benefit of it, the more I really began to just advocate for, if we really want the best and brightest faculty to be engaged in everything that's innovative, new, and current, we have to make sure we're consistently putting dollars behind their professional development and training. Because I do feel like when we look at faculty, often we will advocate for those travel funds for conferences, but this is really bread and butter training that upskills them immediately and that they are immensely grateful for. And so just doing the sort of tour with our board, with my chancellor, it was very easy to make the sell when I brought those faculty members there to speak about it. So there is a price tag on it. It's not a cheap initiative, but this is support for our faculty who are the heart of our institution and really pouring into our students. So it was very easy for me to then get that budget operationalized on an annual basis.
That's great. That's great. Fantastic. And I'll transition up to you, Dr. Ortiz.
So since we started prior to the pandemic, we actually are a Hispanic serving institution. And so we utilized some of our Title V funds to support cohorts 1 through 4, actually. So for the past 4 years, we have been utilizing 100% Title V funds, as it aligns perfectly with the goals of our Title V work. So this year, we are starting to transition in terms of our funding. So for this upcoming academic year, it will be 25% Title V, and then it will be coming out of our Gen Ed funds, institutional funds. So we're changing that structure a bit, as we have embedded now ACUE through a variety of our institutional practices and policies.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. All right. I'm going to switch gears a little bit, but this is interesting to me because I think this kind of thing happens everywhere. And we obviously at ACUE share an appreciation for the expertise that faculty bring to the classroom relative to the content. We recognize that faculty have an outstanding command of their respective subject matter and the science of teaching. However, some faculty could benefit from professional development around the art of teaching. So I'm wondering if you'd speak a little bit to the change management that this work might have required, or any lessons that you learned that you might share with others who may be considering going down this path. So I will jump over to you, Dr. Urtz, and start there.
Thank you for that. I would say the change management began right from the outset, and much like Dr. Ortiz described, we did have faculty members who selected ACUE as the provider, and there'd been lots of discussion. Faculty were clamoring for more support, but as soon as we said, well, here's how we intend to proceed, there were all kinds of questions about, well, who says that's the right thing, and what are you really trying to tell us, right? So there were plenty of skeptical questions initially, and what we did is asked the faculty leaders to join the cohort so that people could evaluate for themselves. And so several did, several of our loudest voices on campus, and they were changed people as a result of it in all kinds of wonderful ways. And so what was great is that they gave it a chance, And that's the first step, right? Give it a chance. And if it's terrible, then we don't have to continue it. But it wasn't terrible. And in fact, now the clamor is, how do we get more, how do we get more modules and more opportunities? And it's funny because, I smile when I say, gee, that was that thing that we weren't so sure about. And it's really the power of the learning method. And it's the power of the research basis. Faculty take very seriously things that are rooted in the most current research, and they want to be a part of that. And so that allows the change to unfold. And it's really remarkable then the buzz that was created on campus and how word of mouth caused the opportunity to spread more than any of our memos did. And so people have really wanted to be a part of it. So we've had about a third of our faculty so far who have participated and completed the full credential. Many, many more have done some of the modules, but to have a third of the faculty in 2 years already completed at the credential is a big deal, we think, and we're awfully proud of them.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. I'll move down to you, Dr. Actually, I shouldn't say down. You're on the lower part of my screen. You could be way up high to somebody else, but I'll move over to you, Dr. Floyd, have you answer that question on change management.
Yeah, the whole idea of change management, much like Dr. Urtz said, it was very much from the beginning and the big sell. So I have a lot of ditto to what she said is, oh, another thing, everybody's already stressed out. Is this even going to be good? But again, the beauty of ACUE is it truly sells itself by being a great product that the faculty can get behind immediately. I will say the added bonus in a COVID environment was the community that was naturally created. So very, very early on, I had to get those faculty, champions, right, to say, I really need you to do this, and get in there so that then other faculty will want to be engaged. But that wasn't even a 3-week-long process to have those initial folks try out the product before there was already buzz that was being generated so that we can begin a true cohort with everyone. And so once they're in there, they're really wanting to do the homework assignments. They desire it. They want to talk about it. The discussion is always robust and rich, and they really are feeding off of one another for what they're learning, but also how they're applying it in their classes. And so trying to get those faculty champions, I would say, but it won't take long because it's truly a product that sells itself.
Nice. I like that. I like the faculty champions. And we'll move over to you, Dr. Ortiz.
So in terms of change management, I think, initially there was just so much tremendous energy around it. And I think that one of the best things that we have done at Waubonsee is just really celebrating and honoring our faculty who have, just really demonstrated their commitment to student success by becoming ACUE certified. And I could not even create it myself. We have yearbooks every year, and each faculty that's completing puts in their testimonial about how ACUE and being part of this learning community has impacted them and their students. And it's just absolutely amazing. So I think that to me is the most important part, is that the faculty and whether it is affirming what they're doing, they've been teaching for 30 years, whether, they're brand new, and especially in some of our CTE professions. So that and the implementation, I think that is another key that just distinguishes ACUE from others, is that you're not just learning, but that implementation and reflection has just been key. Like time and time again from our faculty, that's what we are hearing. And then also just in terms of more broadly change management, we started to implement everything like using the framework, the ACUE framework, as the basis, as the foundation for other things at the college. For example, student evaluations of instruction. So we created a crosswalk between the core questions and the framework, so that when we're looking at that data in aggregate, that can inform our faculty development programming more accurately. We also incorporated it as part of our package for adjunct faculty for them to be able to move to a higher tier of salary, a package that includes the effective teaching practices, the fostering a culture of belonging, and then a QM credential in applying the QM rubric. So once an adjunct faculty member completes those 3 credentials, then they are eligible for tier movement for our union eligible adjunct faculty. So it's now included in our strategic plan. It's included in our strategic enrollment management plan. So embedding it throughout, integrating it throughout the college has been part of the process.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's fun always to talk with you all when you work and you hear people are just so they enjoy and find the benefit in the product so much. So it's great to hear you all talk about that, and then the implementation. I'll tell you, the celebrations are amazing. And I will say, Dr. Ortiz, we've seen your yearbook. We were just talking about it last week as we were sharing it amongst the team, and we're like, wow, look how everyone documents this. And it's really powerful stuff that people write and share with one another. And it moves into this next question, which is like, was there a culture change? Like, what did success, we phrased it as like, what does success look like? Or was a culture change? But it sounds like there was a little bit with you, and I'll let you kind of keep going because it feels like it connects a little bit. And then I'll go to our other panelists too.
Oh, yes. And it is really just a focus, like a very intentional focus on teaching and learning. And I don't think I can understate the importance of that. And in that yearbook, there is support from our president, support from our chief academic officer, support from the faculty facilitators. I mean, it really is an institutional sort of a commitment and shift, right? And we know that it takes an institution to support our students. But I think that additionally, just in terms of our institutional culture around inclusive teaching, around diversity, equity, inclusion, around closing equity gaps, all of those, just aligned so beautifully that we found tremendous support and outcomes that at the same time we're able to create this spark and excitement and passion around teaching for our faculty, and bringing in the rest of the institution to celebrate that as well.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And Dr. Floyd, I'll go to you around that culture shift that you saw, or what was success, how you defined that.
Yeah, I think success was creating culture. At the same time that we had our pandemic, we were consolidating into one institution from 7 separately accredited. And so there was a lot happening and a lot going on. And again, I credit ACUE for really helping us through the series of professional development to create cohorts of faculty instructors that otherwise might not have really engaged with one another because they were at different physical campus locations prior to the consolidation, and were now finding themselves remote or perhaps even returning to a different campus location. The ACUE community became a new community, a new culture, a new group of people that they could rely on and they could go to, not just about their teaching practices, but a little bit of everything. So I will say that it really helped us in the beginning to start to find our culture as Dallas College and to create that at least within the academic enterprise. So it was very helpful because we group our faculty members in cohorts to go through it. So that would be something that remains constant with them throughout their journey with us as Dallas College.
Yeah, that's great. And it's a unique situation that you were going through, but not unique, right, to what's happening right now, and having a lot of colleges come together. So it's neat to see that it was able to kind of facilitate that connection in ways that maybe weren't necessarily even anticipating. So that's wonderful. And I'll have you comment on that, Dr. Urtz. Any comment on culture or success?
So first I need to say wow to the two examples we have just heard. The structural changes from a contractual standpoint and other things, right, with Dr. Ortiz, and then 7 colleges coming together with Dr. Floyd. I just am so impressed. We didn't have either of those kinds of scenarios at our institution. And I would say I would characterize us as really not having known one another very well, if I could be so bold. And that's something I think our faculty would agree was the case, that we had departments and disciplines that really worked in their own spheres. And it was an incredible opportunity to bring people together and get them sharing best practices with one another and learning together. We've also been able to do we had a special event where we granted the certificates initially, which was a really positive thing because we do so many award ceremonies and special moments for the students, of course, but not nearly so many for the faculty. And so it made them feel rightly special that they had done that, and really kind of, you could see everybody standing up a little straighter and, feeling important, and that they had invested in themselves and in their students in a critical way. And, I can tell now, when I was just at the faculty senate meeting and unprompted, they were asking me, well, how do we get more of this to happen? Well, shouldn't we survey people and find out, what other aspects of this education we should be making available? And I invited them to do that, and they literally got a questionnaire out the door the same day, so there's a lot of enthusiasm, and I measure it in kind of the willingness of faculty to lead the initiative itself, and also to kind of steward it, right? To really protect and preserve and make sure that this remains available are, for me, big signs of a cultural shift. And it's always what I'm looking for, what matters to the faculty, what will they take leadership and ownership of, and allow me to support, right, as best I can in all the different ways. So no, I didn't consolidate 7 colleges or anything like that, but I really feel a sense of achievement, and and especially we're in the Northeast, which is really hit by demographics and by lots of things. There's a lot that is very different today than it was 10 years ago. And people are going through a significant period of adjustment, as we are a smaller college than we once were. And this has been a way that we were able to see the path forward for ourselves, bound together as one faculty, one voice.
That's great. That's great. Fantastic. I'm going to move to a question I think is super interesting, and I'm going to let us all go through this, and then I might turn. We're getting some great questions in through the chat that I'd love to pose to you all, and let our audience participate a little bit. So I'll go through this. Will be the last one that's kind of canned that we have, but I really like it, and we've talked about this before. So, as executives in higher education, can you talk a little bit about the overarching student success initiatives that are at play at your institution? And we know ACUE is one of them. We think that's great. We really do. But can you talk about maybe some of the other tactical mix of what's going into that overarching strategy of student success? And I guess, I'll go right back over to you, Dr. Urtz. We'll let you continue.
Thank you. Thank you. So I would start by saying we are an Achieving the Dream institution, really focused on guided pathways. And we are just finishing a Title III grant that was available, where we've done significant internal restructuring of the way we interact with students. And we've built schools with student success coaching and peer-to-peer mentoring and a variety of different strategies. We have a strategy on textbooks to try to reduce costs and improve access on the first day, and a variety of different things that are intended to build a web of support around students, get them on a path, keep them on a path. I mentioned extensive curricular revision that the faculty did. They took this head on and built out our transfer pathways and our career pathways. So when we think about the ACUE initiative, it's the faculty side of this overarching student support initiative. So we're interested in student success, and sometimes that means directly intervening with the students, and sometimes that means supporting the faculty to create the environment where the students will be successful. And so for us, this is part of that comprehensive strategy.
Makes sense. That's great. All right, we're going to go to you, Dr. Floyd. Any comment? Oh, yeah.
Yes, sorry about that. I keep muting so you won't hear all the noise in the background, but we are an Achieving the Dream school as well. And so we are really working that initiative to work through our data along with our student success partners to ensure that we are targeting different populations that we serve. And, you know, it let us know that we needed to put a lot more resources behind adult learners in addition to what we already do. We also have student success coaches and pathway coaches that really drill down to either programmatic concerns around the student and then the success coach around every detail of the student, including food and housing insecurity, and put them in touch with those resources. We've recently engaged with a partner, Bezos Academy, and we now have childcare on all of our campuses, either directly through a Bezos Academy or in partnership with our YMCA for drop-in services. So we're really looking at the totality of the student, and we like to say we are a student-centric college, really making sure that we are supporting them, yes, in their academic journey and studies. That is happening through our schools by having non-credit to credit pathways that are truly embedded into each one of our schools, but also by drilling down to the whole of our students. And we've recently even engaged in emergency funding that we provide students through gracious gifts from our foundation. So a student can access up to $1,000 for anything, something wrong with their car, rent, slate, those little issues that we've historically seen really derail students that we serve in community college with, you know, the demographics that they come from. So in addition to this, and again, I think I would echo Dr. Urtz when she says that the ACUE feeds the academic component and provides that support to ensure we are doing our very best through an instructional lens, but we're really looking at all other resources to support the student's entire journey.
That's great. That's fantastic. And Dr. Ortiz.
Well, and I'm gonna pick up where Dr. Floyd left off within sort of my scope in the Office of Faculty Development and Engagement. So we have created a formula for holistic faculty and student success. And so there are 6 elements, and ACUE is the first. And the ACUE is our foundation for inclusive teaching for equitable learning, so pedagogy. The second element is culturally relevant and responsive curriculum. So speaking along those lines, and of course there are still ties to ACUE in that, but that is another element. Our third element is quality matters. So we use Quality Matters to ensure quality course design. And so that is another element. The fourth, I think, was already mentioned, but OER. So making sure that we are either reducing or eliminating all costs associated with instructional materials. Our fifth element is HighFlex. So delivering instruction through all modalities simultaneously to reduce access barriers. And then finally, the last element is student learning outcomes assessment, because some of the purest faculty development comes through student learning assessment work. So those are the 6 elements within the Office of Faculty Development and Engagement, specifically focused on supporting the college's overarching student success initiatives.
That's great. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to switch gears, and you're going to see me kind of looking over here as I'm watching some of our questions, and we've had some help from some of our other facilitators from ACUE who are picking and choosing some great questions. So this one's pretty simple. I'll just start down with you, Dr. Floyd, on this one, but we'll go around the horn. Which ACUE programs or trainings did each of the presenters colleges engage in? So I know there's a number that come from ACUE, so just interested in which ones you all use. So I'll start with you, Dr. Floyd.
Yeah, we began with the active learning online course. And again, kind of given where we were with the pandemic and, you know, with the success of that series of courses that our faculty went through, we are now engaged in a college-wide effort with the series of courses on belonging, diversity, equity, and inclusion, so that we can embed that not just for our faculty, but also our department chairs, deans, and other leaders across the college. So we're really excited about beginning those efforts this academic year.
Yeah, that's great. That's an interesting point because the fostering a culture of belonging offering is for more than faculty. It's for everyone at the institution. That's interesting that you're doing that and taking that on. Dr. Urtz?
Oh, so we implemented the effective teaching practices certificate and with the 4 modules. And then we later brought on board, you had some additional equity work. So similarly, and so we've piloted that, which has been very popular. And faculty could engage in one or all or some combination of the modules. And like I said, about a third of them have completed the entire certificate.
Great, great. And you, Dr. Ortiz?
So we have exclusively offered the full academic long year course, the effective teaching practices, across the academic year, the past 4 years. In addition, we offer the fundamentals of teaching and learning in higher education, which is like a graduate level companion course. And then we have been offering, so those we have been doing with Waubonsee only cohorts. And then we have been supporting all of our employees to engage with the fostering a culture of belonging through open enrollment. And now for this upcoming year, we're offering it at the effective teaching practices course, but we're doing it as the 4 micro credentials instead of 1, because we wanted to provide our faculty with more entry points into the program. Because in the past, if they missed the beginning, then they had to wait an entire year. So just to provide more access points. And then we're also partnering with other colleges in Northern Illinois as an ACUE collective. And so other colleges are serving as the lead, and then the colleges within our consortium can purchase seats in that cohort. So it's going to be very exciting. It's the first time, and we're just working through that. But so many of our faculty, especially our adjunct faculty, they teach at multiple institutions within our area. So it's just a great way that we can support each other and support our faculty.
And that's, great segue again. It's though we're all reading each other's minds here and of the people who are submitting their questions. So I'll dive right into this next one. And I love it. ACUE sounds great. Thank you. But how do you include adjunct and dual credit instructors, given that they at least teach as many students as full-time faculty, if not more? And often their schedules and other responsibilities can possibly limit their abilities to participate. So strategies, tactics, ways you've approached that, how that's worked, not worked, all those kinds of things. So I know you started talking about this, Dr. Ortiz, so I'll just let you keep going a little bit, then we'll come back around.
Yeah, just very quickly, that was always part of a very intentional part of our plan to bring together our full faculty. So the beauty for traditional adjunct faculty is that it's only an initial launch in person and the rest is asynchronous. So there's just like a ton of flexibility in terms of faculty's schedules as it relates to engaging in the course. And to be honest, we have not engaged our dual credit faculty, at least here in the state of Illinois. Our high school instructors have licensure through the state of Illinois, right? They're teaching licensure, so they typically have the formal education in teaching more so than our traditional adjunct and full-time faculty.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And Dr. Floyd?
Yes, we have it open, but much like the question is sort of suggesting, it's hard to get takers from the adjunct faculty due to their many responsibilities. We haven't really discussed making a payment for them because we really want to put it on par with what we've done for full-time faculty, but we are discussing what might be a more appropriate time frame for them, like just doing a summer cohort. Would they be interested? In terms of dual credit, that's a different discussion, and I think that we are now looking at how we can target our facilitators that do the teaching in our dual credit courses, but on a lot of the high school campuses, for how we might service them more directly, because we have about 32,000 dual credit students, and probably a little more than half are taught by our full-time instructors, but that leaves a pretty significant group that is taught by those that are credentialed, yes, but actually at the high school campus, and we would really like for them to be on par with some of our teaching strategies and what we do. So we're looking at how we can kind of isolate them into a cohort of their own so that they can participate in the ACUE professional development.
All right, that's great. We'll move over to you, Dr. Urtz.
So what I would add is we have had about a third of the enrollments have been adjunct faculty members. We do offer a small stipend to everyone. It's the same amount for everyone, and that was just to kind of get the party started, and it has the gesture is appreciated, right? So that was a good thing for faculty members. In our dual credit world, we have not tried to engage those folks in direct instruction for many of the reasons you've already heard, although we do have a direct mentorship strategy where faculty members actually earn a small stipend for working directly with our dual credit faculty. And so there have been discussions that have begun, and there are some ways, for example, we do some continuing professional development for teachers in our districts. That was part of just what we offer. So there's a lot of interplay back and forth. So many of the principles that our faculty members have been learning in the course of this instruction are making their way into the dual credit space, but I don't think it's as comprehensive as we ultimately would like it to be.
I see. Good. That's great. Well, thank you all for your insight into that. And that's a good question. I have another question here, and I will encourage, we'll probably have time for one more if there's anyone out there who has something that's weighing on them they'd like to pose to our esteemed panel here. But this one is, okay, do you identify ACUE certified faculty on your course schedule so that students could choose to register for a course taught by a certified instructor? Do you use ACUE certification in any of your program marketing efforts? And I'll start with you, Dr. Floyd.
Yes, in our marketing efforts, absolutely. On the schedule, no. And I really jotted that down when I saw the question because I think it's an interesting perspective and it might draw students. I guess I'm also thinking about, will it confuse them? Again, given the demographic that we serve, I'm not sure they would understand ACUE, but our professors are badged for this. So it's noted internally in our system and it is something that they can put out on their LinkedIn profiles, et cetera. But I did jot it down because it's at least making me think more as to whether it could add value in course selection for students. So thank you for that, whoever asked the question.
It's a good idea, right? Dr. Urtz?
So we've had a lot of conversation about how to handle this, and we are a collective bargaining environment. And so people were not excited about the idea of calling out individuals on the schedule. Nonetheless, I do think that students become very well aware where the best teachers are and where the best classroom experiences are. We can see that, and the student buzz is always very clear. So faculty members have certainly tuned into the fact that students seem to migrate in particular ways, and I think that creates part of the bond of sharing around all of this. We do share it as a marketing matter that we are participating in this, absolutely. But again, that's really more for the non-student audience. I would agree. Most of the students don't really understand what that means. They really are a lot more attuned to more student speak around what a faculty member might be like to have in your classroom. So, but that's how we handle it. There's still conversation about it because people are very proud, but we like to do things on our campus the same across all faculty. That's kind of our headspace.
Nice. Okay, and Dr. Ortiz.
Yes, well, we are currently actively in the process of trying to do just that. So I was just looking at the timeline, how many months have gone by since it was initially submitted. But we are trying to get an attribute added in Banner, which is our system, so that it does appear, and we would like to identify both ACUE certified faculty, just like QM certified courses, because, you know, students are very savvy. And they are very savvy about how they are investing their time, their money, their experience, etc. And so I think this is an excellent way to help students make informed decisions. And I think it's a much better and valid indicator than what they might find on Rate My Professor or something along those lines. I mean, this is a nationally recognized teaching credential. And that means, right, that they should be proud that it was an external reader who was evaluating their progress through the course. So I think it is definitely something that we can work to educate students, right, on what that means. Like, this is a nationally recognized, you know, certified teacher.
And if I can, to that point, because you just contextualized that so well, Dr. Ortiz, and I think that's part of the sell, even with faculty. This is a value add. So it's something that's really enhancing their toolkit. And again, it doesn't take much to get them sold on it once they're engaged with it, but it is an enhancement for them. And that's real value, whether they're here or they go to Onondaga or Illinois, wherever, you know, their path might take them. So that's excellent. I just like that.
That's great. It's great. I'm like, oh, sure. Thank goodness we're recording. No, I'm kidding. Okay. So all this good stuff. So last question for everybody. Deep breath. And I like this one too, because I'm interested. What role does ACUE play in the overall professional development strategy on your campus? So an example, like what other professional development opportunities, maybe in-house faculty-led professional development, attending conferences, webinars, complement what you're doing with ACUE? And I'll jump over to you, Dr. Urtz, first.
Great. So we have a Center for Teaching and Learning Innovation, and the way that it works is we actually have a Faculty Senate committee that is embedded inside this broader center. Sorry, the light went off. See if we can get it on. There we go. And so the committee handles all of the oversight of conference travel, that type of thing. We have a vibrant process for all of that, presenting papers. We have faculty who are writing articles and this kind of thing. That committee then also works with a broader group of faculty members who are associated with the center, and they design then our delivered body of annual offerings. We do a big teaching and learning conference in the fall. You know, you get the idea. We do a big assessment day at the end of the year. It's probably some strategies that others are offering, but the faculty design and deliver the lion's share of this. So ACUE, I would say, is an additional offering from the same set of curators. But what is different about it is that rather than it being more of a one-off, it has this deep, intensive community building quality to it, because faculty are engaging with it over a period of time and working toward a common goal and really applying what they learn inside their classroom. So there's always this active learning component that we constantly talk about classroom learning, right? So they're simulating that very set of experiences and encountering them themselves. So we offer all the similar kinds of things. We also are a Quality Matters institution around the online learning. And we have a number of other initiatives underway that cross between staff and faculty. But when it comes to the classroom environment, this has really been the deepest learning opportunity we've been able to offer.
That's great. That's great. So I'll move over to you, Dr. Ortiz.
So in the Office of Faculty Development and Engagement, I shared with you our formula, but we also do faculty development days, right? 3-day conference before each semester. We also have Inclusive Teaching Excellence Series each semester that sort of stems from the Faculty Development Days conference. We also do book reads. I know we were talking a bit about faculty burnout. So for example, over the summer, they're doing a read on unraveling faculty burnout. And then the theme for Faculty Development Days in the fall is cultivating community well-being. So, you know, we carry these themes throughout the year. And this work is led by our faculty development coordinators who are part of our team, and they lead the faculty excellence team, and they also serve as the faculty facilitators for ACUE. So everything is very, very integrated.
Yeah, very good, very good. And we'll wrap here with you, Dr. Floyd.
Yes, so ACUE has become foundational. It is a requirement and becomes the certification for individuals who teach online, whether it's fully online or if they teach hybrid, any online modality. If you're engaged in it, the first series of 4 courses from ACUE is now the foundational certificate. And we sort of did that because now the bulk of our full-time faculty have really gone through the program. So it makes that a lot easier to set the bar for that, but also because faculty said it should be that way. So they were some of the biggest proponents for making this a certification for online instruction. Beyond that, we have a Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning. Much of our work is done in that area through disciplines. So whether we're engaged in co-requisite remediation, you might have English faculty around that. If there are new testing or engagement strategies, different groups of faculty lead that through that area. Of course, there's webinars and conferencing, but it's very much faculty led. And we are really open to a lot. We have an innovation space also here for faculty members, and individuals can even test, try, or pilot different programs through that area. And that's all facilitated through that Center of Excellence in Teaching and Learning.
That's great. That's fantastic. That's excellent answers to those questions. I thank you. And here we are at the end of the hour. I can't tell you how much I appreciated the time that you all gave to us here at ACUE and to all of the folks who are on this webinar with us today. I want to thank you to all of you who joined us today. We'll let you know that we have this session recorded. We'll make this recording available on our ACUE website, and we'll follow up with an email to direct you there. Please feel free to share this with your colleagues who weren't able to join us today. More information regarding ACUE's work is available on our website, of course. Also, if any of you are interested in learning more about ACUE's work and actually experiencing it in action, I have to tell you, it's going to be amazing. And if you want to learn about the impact our partners are achieving, consider attending our inaugural ACUE National Higher Ed Teaching Conference in New York City at the end of June. You can just scan that QR code and get all the information you need. We would love to see you there. So thank you all. Thank you to our esteemed panelists. Enjoyable hour to spend with all of you, so informative. And I hope you all have a wonderful day and rest of your week. Thank you.